You're wasting your money if you do not have any neo-vintage pieces in your collection. What if I told you some of the best pieces on the market are still undervalued? This is where neo-vintage comes in. The neo-vintage period is best defined by watches that came from the 1980s all the way through the early 2000s, like 2005. These watches are really good because they have a lot of the vintage charm with modern wearability and technology, unlike true vintage pieces where wearing them can feel like a bit of a gamble. Some of these pieces are still flying under the radar, and now is the best time to get in before the prices start to skyrocket. They're still very reliable, you get all the vintage proportions and charm, and you can still wear them day to day without worrying about water resistance issues or servicing problems. So what makes neo-vintage such a compelling buy? One of the biggest reasons, I think, is the case size and proportion from this era. If you look at vintage watches, they often run really small. You're talking dress watches that are in the 34mm range. If you look at the modern stuff, they can wear so large it feels like a dinner plate on your wrist. The nice thing about neo-vintage is it splits the difference. So we're talking case sizes that go into the 36 to the 39mm range, and those, I believe, are the best case sizes for daily wear. The next reason is the reliability of a neo-vintage piece. These neo-vintage watches have been around for now a decade or two, so the movements are still relatively modern compared to their vintage counterparts, but they still retain the potential for patina, unlike modern watches. For example, the aluminum bezels on the 5-digit Submariner still have the potential to patina, unlike their modern counterparts, which use a ceramic bezel that is super resistant to wear. One of the most compelling reasons to get a neo-vintage piece is the price. We've seen that prices are only going up as these pieces become more and more vintage, so there's no better time to get one into your collection. This is where the investment potential of these watches come in. We've seen over the last few years very strong returns for certain models. Let's use the Patek 3800 for an example. Just 2 years ago, this watch was selling for $35,000 secondhand in good condition. Today, this exact same 1995 reference is going for $75,000 on the resale markets. And there's various reasons for that. One big one is the return to a smaller case size and a demand increase for those watches. Another reason is the recent release of Patek's 50th anniversary Nautilus, which is 38mm. This watch wears like a 36, which kind of gives it that same appeal for a fraction of the cost. And there are several other watches like this from various manufacturers, from Rolex to AP to Vacheron. Let me give you some examples. If you're looking at APs, the Quartz Crisis watches in the late 80s, early 90s are a great place to start, especially if you want a Royal Oak. And the great thing about these watches are the bezel proportions are really close to that of the Jumbo, so you can scratch that itch for a fraction of the cost. These were the thinnest Royal Oaks ever made. They fit like a dream on the wrist, like a 36mm watch, and they can be had for under 15 grand. Prices are climbing on these pieces, and they're going to continue to go up the longer you wait. Another good alternative if you're after a Royal Oak with an automatic movement is the AP 15000 ST. This one has the same proportions as that Quartz model I just mentioned, but it has a JLC auto caliber in there. It has a screw down crown as well. It scratches that itch of a Royal Oak with an automatic movement for a fraction of the cost, as these can be had for around $15,000. Another great set of models are vintage Cartier Santos. So if you look at the Carré and the Galbé editions of the Cartier Santos, they can be had for sub $10,000 for a two-tone or steel-only watch, and you can get them in quartz or automatic. These watches fit a bit smaller than the modern Santos, and they have a very slim profile on the wrist. Rolex also has a bunch of great neo-vintage options. Take this one for example. It's a 34mm 90s Air King. Even though it's a 34mm case size, it wears closer to a 36 and is an exceptional buy for $5,000. Another great buy from Rolex is the 5-digit Submariners. This is an example with the date from the 90s. It's got a beautiful aluminum bezel with the potential to still have patina over time. The movement is still fairly recent, so it's robust enough for daily wear, and with proper servicing can still be made to be fully waterproof. These models can be had from $10,000 to $12,000, and they sit a little snugger on the wrist compared to their 41mm counterparts. The great thing about all these watches that we just mentioned is that they sit in a sweet spot for a value-driven collector. They're enjoyable to wear, you don't have to be afraid to wear them, and they have great investment potential. With real upside in the market, the place to be right now is neo-vintage. Here's my prediction. I think the neo-vintage watch space is set for an astronomical rise in the next 5 years. What do you guys think? Are neo-vintage pieces worth the hype? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next one.